Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of No More Kids in Scientology. Hope everyone is having a great start of your week. We're going to get into digging into Emily's mudding of the water of her origin story. And we're really going to start discussing the context of how Scientology children are groomed to always have to think about not putting Scientology looking bad. We're going to discuss how Emily doesn't want people to know that she's a Scientologist. So a lot of people might be saying like, well, she's not really using her platform to really shout at the top of her lungs that she's a Scientologist. And I mean, again, you guys, when you grow up inside of these disgusting hotels and commercial buildings, you are embarrassed. You are ashamed to tell people that you are a Scientologist. It's always an eye roll to have to really describe that and to really discuss that with people, because you know that they're not going to get it. You know that it's weird. So here is going right back to 12 years ago is when Emily was doing this interview. So this is what she was saying to rock.com 12 years ago. Let's have a listen.
And then it wasn't until I met her, in high school, we were in different high schools here.
Really, Emily, you were in different high schools and you met the girl that sings with you, who had a rich father, who was funding your career. Where's the high school? Did you even finish high school? Because a lot of us that went to that Sea Org experience, hotel experience, weren't even able to finish high school. Majority of us never went to any type of accredited actual high school. So it is very curious that you don't say it once, you literally say it twice. How, oh yeah, I met her at high school, it was in high school, and there's a lot of high school going on here. But what was the high school?
High school, we were in different high schools here.
You were in different high schools here. I mean, again, it's a lie that is being said to appear relatable. And again, the context of the situation is horrific because she doesn't want to be telling people where she comes from. Do you, Emily? You don't want anyone to know that you're a Scientologist because you were carefully curating and crafting an image that is fake. You didn't go to high school. You didn't meet her in any kind of high school, did you? And again, just so in the chance that you can say, well, I really did go to some high school or something like that, there's a pattern of you muddying the waters. And this is actually a more recent interview that you gave just 2 years ago. And in this interview, you actually, let's really take a look at what you're saying here.
So, which is kind of cool, a lot of diversity and stuff, but a lot of crimes. So I think at the late 90s, the mid 90s, my parents were like, yeah, there's way too much crime right now. So
Your parents were telling you that there was too much crime in Los Angeles. Your mother that didn't care for you. Your mother that dumped you in those hotels to be raised by randoms. I mean, again, The facts are the facts, Emily. No one gets to choose the facts for themselves. That is called crafting a fake narrative. That's why that is being called out, because you landed in the shoes that require you, that call for you to be authentic. So we've said this a million times already. The power is in you to come clean, to be transparent, to not try and lie about where you come from or what you know. Because that's the problem with all of these lies. As the year 2024 has rolled in, before where you really could claim Scientology is a religion, you know what? All the kids that have left since, that are speaking out, that have gone to therapists, that have gotten professional help, that have understood what the abuses were at the hotel. We were groomed as children, Emily. We were groomed. That's what it's called. When you as a child get exposed to depraved, disgusting behavior, that's called grooming. Techniques that get done by adults with little teddy bears, with little dolls. That's what the Scientology courtrooms consisted of. Let's really drill it on a doll. Let's really have a teddy bear. So really normalize this disgusting abomination that is going to be done with everyone watching it, video recording it, transcribing it. So you are highly aware of what a Scientology audit is. You are a grown woman today. So if you're getting Scientology audits and you're a full-grown woman, that's on you. But the fact of what we're raising awareness, just so you're not confused, just so you take nothing personal. This is not personal. This is not personal. This is unthinkable that we're meeting here on this flip side with you going and really stepping on shoes that, again, you want to step in those shoes. We're giving you the roadmap on how to grow a spine. We're telling you what you need to consider today as a problem. If you haven't considered that before, Emily, that's okay. Today is a brand new day for you to have a completely different, informed decision choice. You've been betrayed by your mother. Your mother is a propagandist. Your mother has been doing the bidding of a convicted felon for decades. Your mother knew what they were doing inside of those hotels is highly illegal. Your mother is aware from A to C. Your mother is not on David Miscavige's lines because she doesn't know anything. So you can be more close to your parents. And here you're telling us that, yes, your parents did dump you in that cadet org, did have you in Los Angeles, and then where are you going to pitch? Because, she's talking about how, Los Angeles is a city, and, she does like, Nashville, which is where her girlfriend lives, and it's so nice to be in this small little towns, and all of these talking points that make you sound adorable. And no one is questioning the fact that you are adorable outside of Scientology, outside of L. Ron Hubbard, outside of all of that disgusting dysfunction. You shine on your own. You're separate than that, but you're enmeshed. So that's what you have to understand. It sucks to be you. Believe you, us. It sucks to be us, to be abused in that hotel. And you know what? It sucks more right now that kids, the same exact things that were done to you as a child are still being done to other kids today, right now, with no one raising any alarms, with everyone being groomed up to their neck and ears in complicity, up to having normalized abominations that no one in the year 2024 is going to really tell us that they were having a religious experience, because religious experiences are not had at the expense of children. Let's make sure that that's clear for the people in the very back that are like, oh, I don't know, religious experiences are never had at the expense of someone's childhood. The minute a childhood is being invoked to be exploited, to be enslaved, to be locked up inside an audit, the minute that takes place, there's no religion taking place. There's a criminal act taking place. There's a felony being perpetrated on a child. Look up the definition of kidnapping in the dictionary. Look up what constitutes kidnapping. Check with your team. Go to your legal team. Ask them to tell you what you need to know to make better informed decisions. You are in the public eye. You are at the very front and center of an audience of victims. We've all been through this pain, Emily. That's what you don't get about where you landed. Linkin Park, like Chester's son already told us so eloquently, is an audience of what? Victims of unthinkable abuse. We've all had it. It's not just abuse that the kids of Scientology only experience abuse and everyone else was having a great time outside the Scientology hotels. No, that's not what happened. All what we were there being abused, other kids are getting abused. Other people in our communities were getting abused. Other people in our communities were going through unthinkable traumas in their lives that had nothing to do with Scientology. Scientology was nowhere near them when that abuse happened to them. But guess what? It was the same shit, different air freshener. Meaning what? It was SA. It didn't happen at Scientology Hotel. It happened at another hotel, states away. And guess what? They listened to Linkin Park. And guess what? They processed trauma, life-saving trauma, with that connection to those lyrics that, yes, they should be in you. Those lyrics should be in you when you're singing them, because otherwise, like we said, it's giving karaoke. It's giving, no one's going to be able to relate because people can see. And we said already, you've had the horrible childhood. No one is denying the trauma that you, Emily Armstrong, had to face on your own. We just literally discussed Miriam, someone you know, Miriam Francis, someone you grew up with in the ranch, also sending you open letters to communicate with you. We're not mad at you. We're mad at your mother. Period. You have been their puppet. You have been manipulated. You have been exploited all the way until now. You are a grown woman now today. So as of today, it's up to you as a grown woman to make different informed choices about who you're supporting, who you are being a paid member of. Because all those people that are going on Linkin Park, oh yeah, but how do you know, da 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 da. Every single Scientologist has to have a paid membership inside of the hotel. No one gets in there if they don't pay their IIS membership. Let's be very clear for the people in the back that are confused. That's what it means to be in Scientology lines. She cannot be getting service by the president's office at Celebrity Center while she's not a paid member of that membership. So as grown adults, now you're putting your own skin in the game. It's time to retract that support. It's time to really think for yourself. Stop following whatever it is all these people are doing inside of the hotel. We had to break away from that. And yes, it's going to be very painful. It's going to be horrific when you really actually wake up to the facts, understand what you're doing inside of that hotel, understand what is happening to the kids that are there right now being audited. When you're a child in Scientology, you cannot leave the room, period. So today, in the year 2024, before you were told there was an audit, it was very religious, it's not religious. What's happening to the children isn't religious whatsoever. It couldn't be more delusional that idiots don't understand that locking up a child inside a room against their will never be religious, will never be beneficial, will never be therapeutic, will never be in the benefit of said children. So for the people in the back that are very confused, this is what's happening to kids right now. This didn't happen 30 years ago. 30 years ago, nobody gave an F. 30 years ago, there were no advocates. 30 years ago, most of the children that do end up leaving the hotel end up as roadkill, as you would know, Emily. How many kids in our communities have you know what unalived themselves? After being exposed to severe, systemic, unthinkable trauma, we weren't having religious experiences. We were being traumatized day in and day out. That is, no child should be able to sustain such level of depravity being performed on them. That's what we're sounding the alarm on. That's why this matters. And yes, you're a paid member of a hotel right now that's doing that to kids. Why? Why are you paying that membership? Why are you okay with what's going on today as a grown adult that you are? And yes, a lot of people, because of the disgusting grooming done to you as a child, it is very hard to wake up. It is unthinkable. By the time you wake up and see the truth, see what your parents did to you, see where they put you, see that they all knew, see that they were all aware, see that there was no one there that can claim they didn't know. Plenty people are advocating for you, Emily, outside of this mess. Believe you me, we're advocating for you having been abused as a child in a disgusting commercial rundown building when your mom decided, oh yeah, let's really take you out of LA because you know there's a lot of crime going on. Let's really send the kids now further away from all their parents, the 8-year-olds, right? Because that's what they need. That's what an 8-year-old needed to do at that time. Your 6-year-old self didn't need to be miles away in some desolate, disgusting building with all the other kids that didn't understand what in the literal hell was going on. And yes, as much as the Scientology adults told us, oh, you guys, you're just such little adults in small bodies, we were not adults. When you're a child and you're being manipulated and handled by an entire collective of adults that are sounding very sure of themselves. We know how your mother is. She sounds very sure of herself. She knows how to make excrement look good, Emily. The editor-in-chief of Freedom Magazine, the mother that has been shitting all over mental health. Imagine that your mother wants you nowhere near a mandated reporter because your mother would be getting called by child services and locked up had you ended up inside a therapist's office when you were being abused, neglected, coerced at that desolate building where they dumped you along with all the other children that are speaking on your behalf. We're advocating. That should have never happened to you. We didn't deserve that. None of us did. And you know who doesn't deserve it today? Seeing that we're all now grown adults. You are a grown adult, Emily, too. The kids that are there. And if you're paying the hotels to keep open, and if you're not going to renounce the child abuse, then you're going to get called out for not renouncing the child abuse because you do know. You know what an audit is. You know what a course is. You've been there. You've seen it yourself with your own very two eyes. You might have even been groomed with dolls and teddy bears to make it look okay. But you know what? Today you can go look at it in a new unit of time without the rose-colored BS L1 Hubbard glasses. Take those glasses and throw them in the trash. L1 Hubbard never wanted anything to do with children's best interest. And he turned all adults into utter, depraved, infantile, at best, crazy asses. Our parents were more crazy than anyone can possibly imagine, deluded, checked out of reality, blabbing all these words that meant nothing, that they were just part of an infantile, grown, adults-only game. Because that's what we're calling out, Emily, is the rhetoric that embellishes the excrement, that makes everyone get diluted. Oh yeah, let's really call this out 2D. Oh yeah, it's an out 2D. What the hell is an out 2D? Any essay that happened at the hotels. In the year 2024, we're literally calling that out. The practice, the systemic practice that every single time a child is essayed inside of one of those hotels and they get told, number one, that they pulled it in, number two, that it's called an out 2D, number three, that they're gonna float it. What type of adults lock up a child in a hotel after they've been essayed and tell them that as soon as their needle floats, the felony floats with it? And you can't complain about having been essayed ever again. If you bring it up again, they go lock you up in another interrogation session, ask you what you did in another lifetime that was also similar to the thing that you're now complaining about, because again, everything that all kids do inside of those hotels is they did this to themselves. Grow up. Today, you have to be a responsible adult. Children don't do things to themselves. That's a predatory pitch. That's indefenseless. That's something that, yes, we're asking your mother to write a Freedom magazine to really explain to the entire world in a whole entire magazine what type of religion is really going on and why are y'all not pressed about it? How many more decades of systemic institutionalized abuse needs to be taking place for anyone to give a literal F? Because right now it's 74 years and counting of every single year this entity has existed. It's been exploiting, transacting children across state lines, across international waters, across all manner of illegal places. And your mother couldn't be more in the know. We literally just discussed in detail your mother's, how in the know she is of how the government works, how in the know she is of how the laws work, how in the know she is of how the outside world works. That's your mother, Emily. Your mother's the one that knows. So yes, imagine being your mother, the one that knows how this couldn't be more of a sham. You know, sometimes I feel bad for Debbie Cook because I go, you know what? Maybe she really bought the bullshit so strong. Maybe she was drunk on power, being so proud of doing the bidding of the disgusting convicted felon, that in her delusion, she was still doing something right, which is all the pitch that we ever get. Oh, but I really thought I was doing the right thing. You know what? Today is the time to double check. Today, you double check if you're doing the right thing. Scientology parents, Scientology kids that grew up in this, everyone's being invited. You know what? As of today, what is it? September 9th. On September 9th, 2024, everyone is being invited to double check what in the hell they told you at those hotels. Have an honest conversation with yourself on a mirror to really get a little bit of self-reflection. To really ask yourself some questions that you're gonna have to answer to yourself. So you're gonna know if you're lying or being truthful. And from there, let's advance. From there, let's advance this conversation to, yes, you stepped into Chester's shoes. Yes, you found out what type of advocate he was. Yes, you found out that your fans are owed transparency, which is all we're asking for. Yes, we are allowing you to get off this criminal freeway. Land on the side of the truth. You're going to be served well by that. What you're not going to be well served is pitching lies, pretending this was all just this and all just that. That's what's not working. That's what's getting called out. That's what matters on the flip side of this dysfunction. We're on the flip side now. Every day that goes by is an opportunity for this child abuse to stop. Every day that it doesn't stop, every day that people keep playing dumb, is every day that children are exposed to audits, ethics handlings, and disgusting grooming courses. The three things that need to stop today, not tomorrow, not the next day, not in a million years, not when. No. You are an adult in that hotel. You are that woman's daughter. You could go to the hotels and say, I'm Emily Armstrong. I'm ordering all the kids to get out of the hotels today, right now. Mom, order them. Mom, tell David to get all the children out of the hotels. Any minor out. Cancel. Cancel this for any child. Get them out. 21 and up, everyone gets carded at the door of these hotels. That's what we're asking you to do. That's all you'd have to do. Go tell your mom, go tell David, and get the kids out. Stop the audits, stop the ethics handlings, and stop all that senseless abuse, of which you are very well aware of. No one's in a better, more power position that you did step into. You're in a power position. Remember that whole pitch from L. Ron Hubbard? Oh my God, power. You are it. Tag it, you are it. You're going to sing Chester's lyrics, then you're going to denounce the child abuse. And if you don't denounce it, then we're going to ask you, why are you not denouncing it? Why are you singing this and paying for a membership that does the opposite of what these lyrics are? It's called a contrary fact. Remember in Scientology, contrary fact, lyrics that talk about pain and purpose and transforming that. And here, paying for children that cannot consent to that pain, that cannot consent to be involved in role-playing, to be slaves for adults. This is what it's called, Emily. Look it up in the dictionary. Talk to people that are on the outside, not on the bubble of approved handlers. Get rid of your handlers. Send all your handlers to hell. They're literally abusing you. It's a call for a wake up, for you to have your own awakening, for you to have your own cognitions, for you to realize that you are in harm's way still as we speak. And yes, you have to realize who your mother is, because your mother is one of the architects of this disgusting racketeering scam. So she couldn't be more up to her neck and ears in complicity. Your mother is an unindicted felon. That's what it's called. Look it up in the dictionary. When you commit felonies, when you are decades up to your neck and ears in complicity, committing those, getting reports, watching videos, transcribing it, knowing everything about it. Guess what that's called? It's called being an accessory to a crime. That's a legal definition. That definitely check with your lawyers what it means to be an accessory to a crime. And what the law says when you become an accessory. What your criminal liability starts extending when you become an accessory. When you know, when you see it, when you pay. When the crimes are being committed in your orbit and you have exposure to it. Because again, you guys, we're so sick of the glib pitch of like, oh yeah, every parent really thought they were going to save our world. Breaking news, Scientology parents that expose their kids to unimaginable abuse were not saving a world. Get over it already. Get over it. Get over yourselves. It's like, what is it going to take for you to get over yourselves and realize that abusing a child was never creating any type of betterment in any way, shape, or form? And that exposing all of us as children to that disgusting level of unhinged derangement is a disgusting, unthinkable, unwashable crime that is dripping down every single Scientology parent's nails and hands. The blood of your children is dripping down your literal hands. And there's no Clorox you can put. There's no needle you can float. You destroyed our childhoods. That's already gone and done. You are destroying other childhoods today. Why is that happening? We don't have to entertain the delusions. We don't have to entertain our parents. Oh, I really thought I was going to save our world. That does not have to be entertained. We had to as kids. We were groomed to as kids. We had no idea. We had no clue. We had no point of reference. We were asphyxiated on purpose. So the grooming really did penetrate. And that's why we are advocating for Emily. That's why we are contextualizing her childhood, so that she realized that it is true. In Scientology, they told you pulled it all in and you couldn't be more of a horrible person. Again, Emily, this is not on you. You've been under undue influence your entire life. You could not be more compromised. There's no more level of being compromised than your position. It's not enviable by no means. Because yes, your world is crumbling down. The awareness of society is coming up. All the fake pitches that your mom wrote on those magazines are just melting away. Because we see what she was doing when she was typing that shit. We see what she was trying to push. Oh yeah, this narrative of the Scientology people. Oh yeah, we're really worldly here. We really are discussing conspiracies pitched by your mom. Look at her writings for you to understand what's inside that woman's head. You know, very few times can you get into someone's head. You know how everybody says, oh, you really can't judge them because you can't get into their head. Get into her head, because her head is whatever she was typing from those freedom magazines. That's how you know how effed up she is. By her own words, by her own admissions. That's called admitting. That's why the Scientology parents have zero plausible deniability. That's why the Scientology parents cannot claim that they didn't know. They knew. That's the problem. That's the problem in our child abuse situation. Our parents knew. Our parents exposed us. Our parents brought us. Our parents legitimized it as a collective. It wasn't just your mother. My mother too. Jenna's mother too. Liz Ferris's mother too. Liz Gill's mother's too. Aaron's mother too. Nora's mother too. It's all the mothers. It's every single one of them together. Because that's the collective brainwashing and indoctrination of how they double down and triple down on their a bias that was being implanted in them by a convicted felon, a bias they were grabbing a book and reading. Oh, what does he say? What does he say here to do? Oh yeah, lock up a child. Children are just adults. Okay, well, you know, if L. Ron Hubbard did say it, and I guess that's what it is. Again, for the people that don't get this, Scientology is pitching technology, rigid AF technology. No one can change it. No one can water it down. No one can have any kind of change. Every year is the same. Every month is the same. Every week is the same. It's a group extended role play from hell. It goes from Thursday to Thursday. Everybody gets gathered. Everybody gets, oh, what happened this week? Who went out to at the hotel this week? Oh, we had a flap. We really had this problem. So in what world are the Scientology people claiming that they didn't know that criminal acts were happening on a weekly basis? Weekly. Staff meeting, Thursday. Flaps and handlings. Debbie Cook, first flap to talk to everyone about. We're talking 600, 700 people inside of a hotel lot, in a hotel auditorium, where Debbie Cook on a little microphone standing there talking about Savannah Royce did really get found out to be having sex with 8 different men. Oh, everybody at the hotel, all the Sea Org members, all the adults that were there. Oh, we're so pressed. It's so out ethics. She's so bad. She's so horrible. Intimate details of what these kids got exposed to, of the level of crime, were discussed in detail. It wasn't just we had an out to D, and in the out to D, we found out that they did it in this HEC, in this bathroom, with this many times, with this many things happening during the time that the crime was being committed on the child, that the child was being told, but you pulled it in. Savannah Royce, after she was abused by 8 different guys that Debbie Cook knows about, but is getting paid to not say anything about it. So imagine that. Imagine that, Emily. Imagine that. That's the level of complicity that these adults had. That's the level of full knowing. See, when you're full knowing, again, to the law, when you're full knowing, you can't claim you didn't know. When you're full knowing, recording, transcribing, telling people at the staff meeting what happened, writing it down in pieces of paper, sending it to everyone inside of the hotel, big memo, ethics order. Where is the plausible deniability going to start being shown about how these people had no clue what in the hell they're doing right now? Not what they did 30 years ago. We're using what they did 30 years ago, and we're literally underlining, underscoring the fact that the policies of the convicted felon, the same ones he wrote in 65, are being applied today in 2024. So it's not possible for them to evolve. It's not possible for them to change. It's not possible for them to raise an alarm, raise a flag, say, yo, guys, let's rein it back. Yo, guys, let's really not do this. No one at the hotel has that authority. Nobody, not even chairman of the board, RTC. Imagine that. Even David Miscavige cannot change those policies of what was written in 1965 that the convicted felon wrote. So how's anyone going to defend that they've evolved? How's anyone going to defend that they've changed? If it's in their policies that they cannot change, if it's in their policies that they cannot say a word. The policies is what dictates the unhinged, crazy behavior. That's what is driving all of this. That's what is making these people act with full impunity, pretending that it's just called a session. We just float a needle. It just floats. You have no idea this technology that we're using inside of these hotel rooms, what it does. After people get told to put 100 grand on their Amex, to get a tax write-off by the IRS, to get asked 200 tailor-made questions, because yes, you better believe Scientology pretends, oh my God, we're so ethical, because when we found out that someone there was a self-admitted PDF file, when they said, oh yeah, you know what, I'm having an out to eat with my daughter. Oh, okay, let's write you a program. Let's put 200 tailor-made questions to really clean it, is how they were pitching this to us. As kids, they're having children clean. They're having children administer the questions. I was being asked to administer those questions. So you committed a felony for which you have not been arrested? Okay, so what did you do exactly? Where did you do it? How did you do it? How many times did you do it? What else? What else are you looking at there? What did you think of when I asked you that question? Take another look. What did you do? What did you do? What did you do exactly with your daughter? How many times? Where was she? Where were you? All being video recorded, all being watched by Debbie Cook, all being watched by all the RTC reps, all being watched by all the senior case supervisors, all being watched by the adults. Nothing that was being done was not being watched inside of the hotels, given that every square inch of that goddamn hotel has cameras in it. So again, for the people that really want to give these people plausible deniability, they have none. They video recorded all their depravities. And they think that recording it is tantamount to not having guilt. Well, somebody get them real attorneys that start explaining the law to the people inside of the hotel. Because the people inside of the hotel are convinced that it's an anything goes hotel that they have. Convinced that it's just completely normal to video record these disgusting, abominable questionnaires that they were having us do as underage kids. They started me at age 12. Repeat, age 12 for all of you that are joining us that don't understand what I was 12 years old when I was being groomed to do this. And we've already reported on, check the YouTubes before. A lot of you are new and don't know it. Check the YouTubes before, because we've already come with confirmation that there's the practice of making the children be the auditors has not been canceled, has not been taken down, watered down, stopped doing. Still alive and well. For 74 years, they've been grooming, targeting the kids. That is the problem. That is the issue. That's what everyone in this United States of America is playing dumb about. And we just about had it with people that want to play dumb to the detriment of the kids. Just about reach the bandwidth of, you know what? I'm good. We're going to tell you what you need to know. We're going to tell you what you need to start advocating for, because for the 10 billion time, Emily, children are owed advocates. Turns out that we were owed advocates. Turns out you can't have a shred of advocate if nobody knows what in the hell to advocate for. See how that works? So everyone's bamboozled, running around discussing BS. The amount of BS that comes out of that hotel. You have 74 years of the BS the press has written about them. It couldn't be more pathetic. It couldn't be more watered down. It couldn't be more missing their withhold. The withhold is that you did this all to kids. Period, full stop. That's your withhold. That's what you don't want to figure out. That's what you can't defend. That's what's unthinkable, disgusting, beyond. But you know what? Confront the evil. Raise your confront of evil. All Scientology parents need to raise their goddamn confront of evil, starting by looking at themselves. Instead of going, oh, it's David Miscavige, it was you that brought your kid. David and Shelley had no kids of their own. So if you got seduced to bring your child, that's on you. Breaking news to you. Go check with a criminal attorney what type of criminal liability that opens up for you to have dumped your child there. Because we couldn't be more aware of how illegal it all was. Turns out that we did figure it out. Turns out that we did look up what the law says. What's written in black and white. Remember at the hotel, everyone tells you guys, oh, look at what's written in white and red. L. Ron Hubbard technical policy couldn't be more applicable. Oh, look up what's in green and white. L. Ron Hubbard administrative policy couldn't be more applicable. Turns out that what you all need to start doing is looking at what it says in black and white, what the law states, not your delusion, not your convicted felon. Your convicted felon puts you in harm's way. Your convicted felon opened it up for you to have criminal exposure, the likes of which no parent has ever seen in their entire life. Because you know what? The people at the hotel hooked you up with keeping up meticulous, copious records. So just before any Scientology parent wants to go, people at the hotel have the entire criminal case on you. Scientology parent. All the abuse that happened to your child because you paid for it to get done, as it was done with me. Age 12, my parents are paying $40,000 to the hotels, so I really become a class 4 auditor, because that's really what I should have been doing. I was not in school, not going to high school. In Florida, it's a willy-nilly state where they have no laws, nobody gives an F. Kids got taken out of school, and no one in Florida ever gave an F. They figured it out. They circumvented all the laws. Everyone played dumb. Debbie Cook was happy. She had child slavery 24/7 at her fingertips. So that's what we're discussing. That's what we're discussing here. And we're also discussing the fact that, yeah, apparently you were close to your parents. And let's really tell everyone where you went after, you know, your parents pitched to you that it was very criminal in LA and we really need to get you out because we really care about you.
So I went to a boarding school like in Santa Clarita for a bit.
You went to a boarding school? So now you're in a boarding school in Santa Clarita. What type of boarding school was it really? Because it was a ranch. That's what they told you at the hotel. Going to send you to the Pack Ranch with Miriam Francis. So now you're going to a boarding school. And again, you guys, this is how the Scientology parents train the kids to speak. You have to really speak in PR. They send you to ethics. If Emily had gone and done this interview and said, yeah, you know, I grew up in Scientology and I, you know, had a rough childhood, and I grew up in this thing that they call the ranch. And if she would have just been honest, like every one of us has been on YouTube, if she would have just said it what it was, she would have had her Osa mother calling her, Emily, what are you doing? You're furthering enemy lines. They told us that whatever bad thing we experienced at that hotel, if we ever spoke about it, then we were furthering an enemy line. What type of adults that are pitching are saving our world groom all children to be scared out of their MF mind about whether you tell any type of truth about what's being done to you inside of the hotel? Because just like how you see Emily just looking so relatable, we had to be that good. Oh yeah, it's just, I was at a boarding school. We met in high school, always being super blasé. We were intelligence assets, you guys. Her mother works as an intelligence asset of Scientology. So you're seeing here her double agent daughter going in, getting interviewed, and running the program. Look relatable. Don't talk about your childhood. Try to make it look like you're just any old California girl that, grew up in a boarding school, is what she's saying.
For a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there I learned to play guitar and just kind of hunkered down a little bit, which is kind of great for me, for somebody who was very, very high energy all the time. I was able to just kind of hone in. And
you mean ADD? Because that's what the people that remember you from being high energy back in those days have actually characterized you with. And again, who was your mother that said everything that psychiatry ever wrote was false, bullshit, and a crime against all children? Your mother. Who vilified mental health more than anyone else individual in the entirety of Scientology? The editor of the Freedom Magazine. Breaking news to all of you that are really pressed to really go grab David, because, oh my God, David, grab the mother that was an editor, that knew. David dropped out of high school. David has no idea how the world works. Emily's mother does know how the world works. She knows how government works. She knows very, very well all the intricacies. So it's the fact that she knows, exactly how all of it works. She knows what she's done is illegal. She knows what she's done is disgusting. She knows what she's doing to kids isn't saving them. None of us were saved. None of us had religious experiences. None of us were getting abused and having a religious experience for the 10th billionth time.
focus. And I just made a band, and that's all I did, there. And then I went to high school up here, like La Cañada, like right outside. Yeah. And then.
You mean Tahanga? Because that's where all the rugrats that would leave the Scientology hotels, you guys. And there were so many of them. Again, you guys, if the way we were brought up wasn't so disgusting and dysfunction just being passed on, and the level of abuse is passed on to another and another one, believe you me, this is the last subject we ever want to be discussing. But, we went from going to a boarding school, which never existed, to now going to a high school, sort of in La Cañada, like sort of, you're not really telling us where you actually ended up.
And then from there, I started a band with Susie, and then.
Wow. Okay.
That's kind of been but it's been music driven, like since, the age of 11.
Wow.
Oh, age of 11, adult in an adult body that you were from age 11, you've been music driven. And I mean, again, you guys, here's where you see, right? Like, to say something like that. This girl, and again, going back to Emily's childhood, for all of you who are so pressed and saying, oh my God, you're being so mean to Emily, blah, blah, blah. Emily has what it takes to carry on that legacy. Emily is being asked to be transparent about it. She's an 11-year-old girl that learned how to play guitar and got herself a little band in the ranch, in that middle of that dilapidated, disgusting, cockroach-infested building where they were keeping all the kids, then there's no doubt in my mind that as we did use art in order to save ourselves, as she had to do to use art in order to save herself from that horrific environment. So who's going to say that she doesn't have what it takes? Emily, you have what it takes. You really do have what it takes. You really do have the story of being placed in that position as a child. Something that, again, all that you're being asked to do is to reconcile the facts and to start adulting. This is what is called being an adult. You have to be an adult today. Like this idea that you could just be a cult person, that you were told to think like this, you were told to say this and not say that. Stop listening to people that tell you what to say. Because again, we were told that anytime we said anything that could even be construed as negative, you guys, we were forwarding an enemy line and we would be punished. We would be locked up. We would be incessantly interrogated. What's your evil intention? Why do you want to forward enemy lines? Why are you being critical of L. Ron Hubbard? Why are you being critical of Debbie Cook? Why are you being critical of David Miscavige? These people could abuse you and then they expected the child not to be critical. We're sounding an alarm on that. There is no commercial building on earth where children can be abused and then blamed for the abused. That's what we're calling out. That's why it matters that you, Emily, start really discussing what type of boarding school you really went to and what was your real process. Like, get real with us, girl. Like, we can handle it. We can handle the truth. We know what you've been through. We understand it. We don't wish this on our worst enemy. We don't wish this on any child. No more children need to suffer. No more adults need to have their entire childhoods stolen by abusers that are doing so with impunity and full knowing and full recording and full transcribing for the 10th billionth time. For those who don't know what Scientology is, Scientology transcribes their abuse and video recorded a la P. Diddy, a la Jeffrey Epstein. So for those who really want to be confused about it, stop being confused. Watch all the videos we put already there on the public record, showing you all how the sessions are conducted with video cameras. It's a whole content creation strategy where they're asking disgusting, incriminating, highly incriminating, leading questions is what they ask in those audits. For anybody that doesn't know and doesn't understand it and just thinks Scientology is some weird religion, stop with the BS pitch of it's a religion. The IRS better start typing on a machine how it was a religion. By all means, IRS, tell us how this is a nonprofit activity that was happening, given that PDF files, fully self-admitted, paid, including but not limited to $100,000, charged it on their Amex, and it all got floated away. And y'all at the IRS gave them a what? $100,000 tax credit. So for all of you who want to go, the government isn't involved and they have no shred of a clue, the government is subsidizing the PDF files to go get their tax break. So if the IRS is getting told in IRS tax forms, here's what I donated at the hotel, and here is $100,000 deducted of what I earned, because Scientology is full of millionaires. It's a millionaires club. Don't forget that it costs a lot. So $100,000 to get asked for 200 hours, explicit, highly incriminating questions about everything to do with self-admitted to any type of criminal activity these people could have been, including not limited to abusing their kids, abusing other kids, being perverted. All of it is fair game inside of those hotels. So there you go, 100 on an Amex. Send that to who? Oh yeah, the IRS. The IRS. Here you go, IRS. I really donated 100 grand to charity, AKA self-admitted that I just literally committed all this criminal activity, and the hotel is all in the know. The hotel has all the video recordings of the admissions. I mean, the Clearwater Police Department is the dumbest police department in the world. Imagine that you are a police department and you interrogate people. And as a police officer, you can't even ask anybody any questions because, you know, they really need an attorney. They really need to be protected. We're talking criminals, which is what the Clearwater Police Department gets their hands on every once in a while, right? So criminals 1 block away from the hotel are afforded an attorney, are afforded oversight, so-called oversight to, you know, can't really ask them this unless we have the evidence of that, and we can't really ask him that. At the hotel, as children, we would be asking them. We didn't give an F. Debbie Cook told us that we had all the credentials to do it. Debbie Cook groomed us with all the teddy bears. Yes, go teach all the other kids. Everybody does it. Everybody sees it. Everybody is into it. So children 1 block away are asking self-admitted felons intimate details of what they did in furtherance of felonies, but the people at the Clearwater Police Department are, oh no, we can't ask that. Oh no, we can't ask that either. Oh, we don't know anything. Imagine that. Imagine the juxtaposition, just so you understand the role of what's being expected of children. What type of group of adults expects this of children they groom? That's the question we want answered on the public record with a straight face by the IRS. It's the IRS that needs to answer all Americans why they're in cahoots. 3 decades. 3 decades.
So you started
Yeah.
to ban that early on. I mean,
Yeah.
in middle school, it sounds like.
Yeah. I was like,
Wow.
that was all. Like once I picked up a guitar, I was like,
Oh, another lie. In middle school, sounds like. And I mean, again, you guys, they put us to do drills, communication drills, media training drills. They were making us into machines for them. We couldn't have our own opinions. We couldn't say what we really felt. We couldn't tell anybody what was going on because we were told that we were the enemy of the state by David Cook and her goons that were constantly patrolling everybody's thoughts with their stupid machines. Oh, let's really get you interrogated. Oh, you're really acting up right now. You sound very suspicious. But here she is easily lying through her teeth about middle school. No, she didn't go to no middle school. She didn't have a normal upbringing. She grew up in the cadet org. She grew up in the Sea Org. Her mother was already in the Sea Org when she was born. She had a horrific upbringing.
I was like, oh, this is it. Yeah.
Was guitar
But
your
I
first
didn't-
instrument?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't like, I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to be this. I was just like, I really want to start a band, you know, and I want to be a really good guitar player once I started like learning guitar. But like, when you're kind of just there, you just learn on your own.
Right.
You know, you have like Guitar World subscriptions and like Guitar Player, you know, and like, but still that was like way over.
And again, you guys, she's self-taught. Again, art was our only lifeline. And for some reason at the hotel, which never made sense to me, and it's starting to make sense right now. Right now, I'm having what they call in Scientology a cognition. I just had a cognition. I was like, gee, they manipulated and controlled us so tightly. But yet, when you wanted to be an artist and get famous, they would get behind that because they knew they could have people in influencer positions. So they allowed her to, you know, sing and whatever. And they weren't telling us you can't sing. I mean, again, the exposure to all of that was so highly controlled and manipulated. It's ridiculous. I mean, like I said, I was only able to listen to music in CDs, hiding them under my pillow, putting down my headphones at night as I would get home at midnight and have to wake up at like 6:30, 6 hours of sleep. And I had my headphones the entire night. I was barely sleeping, but it would kind of calm down my anxiety. And I was just like blasting the music in my ears. That's all I remember about how I got through those nights being abused in those hotels. So art was our escape. This is how we were escaping. This is how we were surviving, because that was the only way to disassociate that felt that it quelled anything. Never mind that everything was going to be worse the next day, because again, the dysfunction at the hotel goes on 24/7. There's always some BS going on. It's always going on. Like, you never get a break. You never get a break inside of that disgusting, ridiculous hotel.
Over my head, you know, just rip out the pictures and put them up. But it was, yeah, I mean, like, I had singers in my band at the time, and I just never thought of myself as a singer. And
I wonder if Laura FM was one of your singers at the cadet org, although she was at the int ranch, so she was at a higher level than you. But anyways, I digress. Singers, you had cadet people singing in your band.
and it wasn't until like we were doing, I think we went to San Diego. Was it San Diego? Where's the California State Fair?
The state fair.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway,
There's
we
like the
played it.
San Diego fair. That was
Yeah.
like the Del Mar fair, but that became like a traveling thing. I
Okay.
feel like there's one
Okay.
like Alameda in like
Yeah.
Orange County.
I wonder if it's even a thing anymore.
But yeah, they were traveling around again because they had the backup of a wealthy Scientology father that told them, I'm going to fund you guys to not have to worry about paying any bills. And we're going to send you to all the state fairs. We're going to send you all around. Your only job is to get famous. You get famous, you get influential, you get good press, then we can promote you inside of the hotels, because again, that's who's at risk. The kids that they get promoted, oh, look at Emily, wouldn't you want to be like her? And yes, it had a big influence on us. We were like, you know, when I was at the hotel, there would be Tom Cruise was showing up all the time. Oh, Tom Cruise is about to show up. And everybody would go and clean and do all this shit. And again, it felt like there was legitimacy to the bullshit we were doing, because we were that naive. We were literally that naive. All it took is for them to flaunt a celebrity in front of us. And we thought, okay, well, it can't be that these hotels are all a sham. Like, that's what I thought, at least for myself. I was like, well, all these people keep showing up. John Travolta showing up. Tom Cruise is showing up. You know, everybody's showing up. So must be that is maybe not a complete sham. And we were told, and again, oh, look how famous they are. Look how successful they are, because they're really advancing on their Scientology levels. So they constantly are feeding you that. And it's not that they say it nonstop. And Tom Cruise is back, and Tom Cruise is great, and Tom Cruise is doing this, and Tom Cruise is doing that. They pitch the celebrities ad nauseum internal at the hotel. Remember, Scientology is a crisis management operation 24/7. So yes, back in the 80s, early 90s, they would force people to go tell people that they were Scientologists. And Marty Rathbun actually would send them to ethics if they would refuse to state that they were Scientologists. But then with more awareness came the fact that they were landing themselves in PR trouble. So they reined everyone back and said, oh, you know what? Pretend that you're not a Scientologist. Then David Pettit at Celebrity Center called Debbie Cook and said, yo, all these celebrities are getting outed. We're getting a lot of out PR flaps. I'm going to send you some children across state lines, which is who literally Dave, what's the guy that runs Celebrity Center, Dave Pettit, who sent his underage daughter across state lines to train with Debbie Cook, who sent the husband of her underage daughter across state lines to train with Debbie Cook, who sent two other children that were underage across state lines, the Moore brothers, to be trained by Debbie Cook. So all these children are now going to be the celebrity auditors. So they go to the hotels and then they come back to California. And what is now the new program? Celebrities don't show up at Celebrity Center. We go to you. Oh, we'll go to your mansion. Don't you worry about it. We have a whole team that's going to go to you. And that's how they install all their handlers that Tom Cruise has, Emily has. They all have handlers, you guys. And they're all very proud of their handlers. Believe you me, inside of the hotel, they flaunt them because their handlers are like their quasi-slaves. On the one hand, they're Sea Org members right? But they're told, oh, the president only deals with the VIP. So they're like, oh, I want to be a VIP. So, I mean, it's so stupid, but it's like, I'm literally having to break it down to you and how they get influenced because they get bamboozled. It's like, oh, I'm going to be a VIP. Okay, I want to be a VIP. Where do I sign up to be a VIP and be, at the president office lines? That's what they call it. So when you're in those lines, you get handlers from that president's office. And those handlers, they have an entire matrix of handlers that they all control each other, share info. What did Tom Cruise say? Who's getting on his lines? Who said this about Emily? Who blah, blah, blah. And they become these like, almost like adult babysitters that are literally like following the celebrity. It's like, oh, did you get PTS? Do you need an ethics handling? Oh, are you getting sick? Is someone getting on your lines? And they're constantly there making themselves sort of helpful. And the person that's receiving the sort of free help from the hotel, because they don't really charge you for presidential services. Okay, so that's how they also get around to a lot of entitlement to the celebrities. That's how they are all like very, very happy. And, you don't really see them coming out and saying much other than Leah Remini, of course. But majority of them are like very, very happy how they were helped to get to where they needed to. And then, oh, oops, never mind. I wasn't really part of this hotel. Let me just go live my life. A la Jason Lee, a la Beck, a la all of these other ones that so-called leave, but are still in that matrix of, special favors, which is what is being, that's the leverage that Scientology has over them, or the fake mirage leverage at the end of the day. Again, because no one is going at Emily for her talent as an artist, for her plight to get to where she got, self-taught, yes, helped by a Scientology father, context, whatever. But the girl can sing. The girl can hold a note. She can do it in her own way. We're not coming after her style. We're not coming after her as a person. We're calling on her to wake up. And we are serving the facts so that anyone in her team cannot claim that they don't know the facts anymore. That's what's being done. It's for her own benefit. So we are advocating for her because we're seeing how she's lying. We're seeing how she's being manipulated. And, guys, we've all been there. We've all been there. I can call this out because I was her when I first landed in New York after I escaped the hotel. After I said, I don't want to be in this disgusting hotel. I'm breaking my disgusting billion-year bullshit contract. Get me the F out of here. They kept me locked up, washing bathrooms with muriatic acid. They had all these disgusting tortures, putting me to scrape off asbestos, the most disgusting, vile things, because they were supposed to bring you to present time is what they called it. So every time they exposed us to asbestos, they told us that they were bringing us to present time. So by all means, Debbie Cook can get on the record and explain to people how exposing children to asbestos is a religious experience and how that brings them to present time. And you know what? You're at it, Debbie. Go double check with your criminal attorney if you have one at hand and ask them. If I, used to send children to scrape off asbestos with no protection because our hotels were filled with asbestos, because we had a real problem, because we couldn't bother to buy any type of health equipment to have our slaves get exposed to this. So just so you understand how far they went, how far they took it, Emily. Because again, you had the luck to not be a child slave in the Sea Org. Understand that that is your entitlement in this whole situation. It's great. I don't wish that you would have become a Sea Org member. I don't wish that they would have done to you what they did to me. I don't wish that on my worst literal enemy. I don't wish it. But that's why this moment is calling for an awakening of the facts, of everyone being an adult, of everyone dropping their ego and their excuses and their image that they've created for yourselves. Drop it. Nobody cares. Become honest, get on the record, change what's going on in that hotel, and then let's all move on. That's it. That's what's being called. Like the abuse doesn't just continue to be subsidized because it's all shrouded in, well, I don't know. Well, maybe it happened. Well, maybe it hasn't been tested in court. L. Ron Hubbard was dumber than that. L. Ron Hubbard wrote down all his criminal agenda on books, lectures, and transcripts, which all of you have, which all the attorneys have, which all judges have an access to. Now, if they want to play dumb and purport that whatever a convicted felon wrote down on a piece of paper is something that they cannot have an opinion about, and they're going to expose children to what that convicted felon said, explain to us that grew up in that hotel how that works exactly. Because right about now is giving the law has a crisis on their literal hands. Lawyers in this United States have a crisis the likes of which have never seen, given the fact that they have managed, lawyers in this country have managed to circumvent the Constitution, to circumvent the 13th Amendment, to make children into slaves and pitch it to everyone as a religious activity. So when that can start, when your mother, Emily, asked her to put an entire magazine together, to come up with a pitch, we dare Gail Armstrong to pitch this to us. Now that we're adults in adult bodies, Gail. Now that you cannot tell us how to feel or how to perceive the world. Now that we see through your sham BS that you put all over the public record to bamboozle our idiotic parents that did buy your propaganda. And we're advocating for them today as well. They should have never listened to you. They should have never read that shit. You were full of shit and you know it because you're that type of bitch. One that writes lies, knowing they're all lies, but wants to, manipulate perception. That's the sickness of all of you OSA degenerates. You're just a bunch of manipulative PR pawns. Writing your fake pitch, full knowing that you're lying, full knowing that you couldn't be more disgustingly deranged, full knowing that you have all the evidence on yourselves of what type of disgusting level of criminals you all are, but really wanting the benefit of the doubt because yes, the LAPD is literally all over sucking the you-know-what of Jennifer, OSA Mike Rinder's replacement of really dealing with the LAPD. And go check out Audit LA that has posted all the receipts of all the officers that constantly get commendations from Jennifer. Imagine being at the LAPD and going, oh, the woman wrote a commendation. You know what was done to us as children to incentivize us to really go, oh, look, you're doing so great. You audited 100 hours this week. Let's write you a commendation. Commendation. Natalie Galbiati audited 100 hours this week. Isn't she so great? Here's a piece of paper to put into your ethics file. So imagine that the OSA woman that works in Scientology, as Audit already has exposed, goes and writes commendations to the LAPD, and that's all it's taken for the LAPD to be literally sleeping with that enemy of the people that are doing this to the kids. Again, the OSA goons know everything. Jennifer gets CC'd every time there's an out to D inside any of those buildings. Anytime a child is essayed, everybody gets told, especially the ones at OSA, especially the ones that have to crisis manage, especially the ones that 24/7 figure out how to derail any hope of that child seeing any law being applied in this country. Because yes, California is that lax. California doesn't give an F about enforcing any laws, and neither does Florida for that matter.
Anymore. It was the state fair. Like it was the California State Fair.
Okay.
And
I don't remember
anyway,
the state fair, but I'm sure maybe it was up by Sacramento or something. Who knows? I mean,
It could've been,
California's
yeah.
so big.
I know. So we did like a California tour, I remember.
Okay.
And we like raised money for like our school and stuff. And
Really? How old were
was,
you when you did that?
was like 14, but that was
You
then.
did a tour?
I mean, it was like,
Oh, is she just telling on herself? He's like 14. You were 14. What the hell were you doing on a tour? And here she is backpedaling, you guys. I mean, again, I see her struggle, you guys. I see the cognitive dissonance going on. I see her Scientology handlers in her head as she's saying this, as she's trying to control how he perceives her. Because that's all the people at Scientology hotels teach you. Really show people how you need to be perceived so they don't see past the facade, which is KGB Tactics 101. Why there's an American hotel claiming that KGB tactics instituted on underage kids, groomed to play those tactics, groomed to be intelligence assets, furthering the literal bidding of a convicted felon, is what we need to really understand for ourselves right now. Because you're seeing her literal intelligence training right here as she answers things with lies that they were teaching her at the hotel.
It's like
But
not really a tour, like going to like, people's houses, like.
Oh, you see how it wasn't really a tour now. At 14, again, children are adults in kids' bodies. So at 14, at ages that make no sense to anyone outside this world, because we never were children, Emily, were we? You were always an adult, and these people took that to the nth degree. It wasn't like, oh, they just said that in the book, but everybody like obviously toned it down to the reality. No, sir. In Scientology if you're not doing what L. Ron Hubbard is saying, then you're wrong. You're bad. You get punished. You get sent to ethics. You get told that there's something wrong with you. So it couldn't be more of a horrific, disgusting thing.
Wow.
And then we did the California State Fair. Anyway, it wasn't then that I was just like, fuck, I need to be the singer, because the other ones were a little unreliable,
Okay.
Even at that age, I was like, this is way too
You're not taking
unprofessional.
this seriously. Wow.
So
what drew you to the guitar? Yeah, what drew you to guitar when you were going to school there?
I mean, there was like a guitar that had maybe 3 strings on it that was just kind of being passed around like, this is the new thing that people are doing, and it's a guitar. And I picked it up and somebody showed me, I forget what it was, but I just remember looking at it going, whoa, this is the fucking coolest thing ever. And I was like, this is it. And I was playing sports like religiously before that.
I mean, playing sports, you guys, again, it's what these kids had to do. They had nothing. These kids had nothing. Miriam already has told us how they grew up. They had nothing. They had no oversight. They had no love. They had no help. They are the poster childs of child trafficking. And this is a very endearing aspect of her talking about learning to play a 3-string guitar that was brought to that desolate place where there was nothing for a child to see. I mean, again, child development, because L. Ron Hubbard was so disgusting and diluted, was completely contaminated. All the adults did the unthinkable. And it was all normalized. And that's why, I mean, look at her plight. I mean, this is where she can get honest about this, but not get honest about that.
I was skating. I was even playing like tag football.
I mean, these were the skater kids. And we talked about Serge Oblinsky. He was one of those skater kids around the Blue Building. They had nothing. They had one skateboard, and then they had to entertain themselves. Look what ended up happening with Serge as a result of having no one looking after him, no one caring for him. And the same thing can be said for Emily. I mean, again, it's like those childhoods should have never happened, ever, under any circumstances.
It was a lot of basketball. it was everything. Like, I just loved sports. And then after that, I was just like, wait a minute. This is my out for sports because I know I'm not going to be doing sports for very long. These boys are getting a lot bigger now. I'm not going to be so great, you know. But then, yeah, that's when I started playing.
Wow.
And a little intermittent skating because I always loved skating. But
so again, going with the shore story, this is Scientology PR Tactics 101. Tell everyone a story, look very relatable. So far she's already lied that she grew up, that she was going to a boarding school, that then she went to a high school, and then that she's having this very sort of like, oh yeah, it was so normal. I was all into sports. Oh yeah, you know, I did fall into a guitar and, you know, but there is no mention of the context of how she grew up. And I believe there's a lot of shame wrapped up with it because again, when you are abused as a child, and this is why we're sounding the alarm, you get the message as a child that you don't matter. You get the message as a child that you're disgusting. You get the message as a child that you are a nuisance. That's how these kids were made to feel by their parents dumping them there. These children would cry for attention. And again, it's like when I was born in Scientology as well in Mexico, like they take you at your most vulnerable years. We're talking about you are 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. And your parents just have you dumped somewhere in a collective of kids where all kids are just going crazy. And they have 1 or 2 nannies because again, it's low priority. The kids aren't clearing the planet, so go make more money. That's how these institutions were working. That's how Emily's mom was working. Oh, I really need to write more fake pitches. Who cares about my daughter? She can help herself at the hotel. So this is the tragedy of who Emily is and who Emily cannot really reconcile as she's lying. This is 2 years ago. So this is not that. This is literally 2 years ago.
Like
it was
roller skating or ice skating?
oh no, like skateboarding.
Oh, skateboarding. I
Yeah.
love skateboarding too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
actually how I got into a lot of bands was from the early
Yeah.
skate videos. I mean,
Sick.
they
Yeah.
used to have
Oh my
such
God.
good soundtrack. I mean, I'm sure they still do. I'm just too old.
We couldn't watch videos. At the hotel, we had no TV. At the hotel, we barely had access to like, you know, portable CD Walkmans because they required those for you to be listening to L. Ron Hubbard. So majority of the kids that were ever listening to music is because you literally had to like contraband it. You know, you had to be on the bus listening supposedly to L. Ron Hubbard. What I would do is they had those books of L. Ron Hubbard. They call it the transcript, what L. Ron Hubbard would say, you guys. So you'd put Linkin Park in on your ears, and then you had the book, and then you just be going like this. Oh yeah, L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah, sure, L. Ron Hubbard. I mean, listening to L. Ron Hubbard made me so nauseous, you guys. I never listened to him. I never listened to the tapes. I always like, oh, did you listen to that tape? Yeah, sure did. But it made me nauseous. I could never understand what in the hell he was talking about. He made no sense. His jokes were disgusting. Like everything was inappropriate. It was disgusting.
Too old to still buy skate videos, but
Yeah.
that was
CKY
like-
was
oh
one.
yeah, CKY was great.
It was sick. There's some trans worlds like rad videos that we used to just like, oh, it was the best, man. And we were
Yeah.
all in bands, you know.
Of course,
Where we all played
bands,
music.
and
Yeah.
skateboarding.
Yeah. It was
So where were you in bands and skateboarding? Again, Emily, because you were at the cadet org, and you went from the cadet org to Danny Masterson's group, where yes, Danny Masterson was exposing you to a lot of music. Yes, then you were working with Susie. Then yes, you toured around and did stuff. But it's just like, it just sucks that you can't really talk about your background because it's missing. And I know you cannot access it, but you know what? You can access it. Your truth is your truth, and you should not be ashamed of it. You didn't do anything to deserve it, and you didn't consent to have that be your childhood.
it was like that. It was great.
Wow, that's rad. Okay, so well, you said you ended up going to high school then in Los Angeles. So
Yep.
you stopped going to boarding school. You went to high school in LA, and that's when you met Susie, or like how did
Yeah. Yeah,
early
I
creation of the
met
band?
her.
And you see how the guy is so confused. You guys, it's like, so that's how you met, and you went to high school, and it's like, and she's very sort of like, yeah,
Yeah, it
Okay.
wasn't there. It was like, she was mutual friends with a friend of mine, you know,
Okay.
and it was just like, oh, dude, let's hang out. And then she was hanging out with her, and we were
friends of a friend. Scientology knows a Scientologist, knows a Scientologist. First degree of separation, you guys. Like you guys already know, the hotel was incestuous AF. We all knew each other. We all had to hang out with each other. You couldn't be outside of the group. If you were going to any other outside of the group, you were considered bad. You were considered disgusting. You would get in trouble. And I mean, as a child, again, all these people do have a lot of influence over you. As a child, like you really do believe the BS that they're selling you at the hotel.
and we were all just kind of became like a group of friends, and then it wasn't like till about a year into, like, we just hang out, drink, and do whatever the fuck.
Hang out, drink. All right, you guys, we're gonna get real about this specific thing that she just talked about. There were a ton of young, underage Scientology kids whose parents really didn't raise them, who came from very dysfunctional families. As you guys have already learned, all of us had dysfunctional family dynamics. All of us. Our entire dynamic familial system was compromised. So they would have, and I would hear about all these parties that they would have. And since I already had left the Sea Org, I never would go because I never wanted to drink. For some reason, I hate the taste of alcohol. I despise the taste of alcohol. I can't stand it at all. So, but I would always get invited to all these parties that all these people were having, and then they were all going out ethics at the party, which means what? They were all drinking, they were all hooking up with each other, it was a disaster scene. And all of these parties and drinking binges that they would get into, like they would get hammered beyond. And so many kids suffered so much. There were young teenagers, rebellious Scientology, young teenagers that believe they're adults. So just imagine the type of level of teenager you really are when you really do believe you're a full-grown adult as a teenager. So if teenagers are already hard to handle, imagine ones that are going, I'm an adult, don't tell me what the F to do. I'm a Thetan. I don't need your bullshit advice. You're nothing. You mean nothing to me. And that's the rebellious teenager Scientology kids that you would get. The kids would be so traumatized, so betrayed, so abused, so adulticized, no innocence left, all their innocence compromised, all their childhood completely in shambles. And they're trying to drink themselves to you know where, to that point. And this is where we get to the unalivings, and this is where we get to all of these kids that nobody ever speaks about because, you know, they're gone and, you know, the LAPD doesn't give an F. Oh, another one just, you know, decided to do that to themselves. Sucks to be them. Better luck next lifetime. So we know what children that get abused 24/7, 365 end up as roadkill on the other side of the spectrum. That's what happened with Chester. When you see his interviews, he talks about all the self-destructive, bad trauma coping mechanisms that you, as a survival of unthinkable child abuse, develop to cope with the unthinkable weight of what's been done and perpetrated on you stuff that you have no way of understanding how bad it is. Because at the time, you just think that, you know, number one, that you're wrong. As a child in Scientology, you're always told that you're wrong. So all these kids blamed anything bad that they've ever done on themselves. And you see that with the Scientology kids, even today, the ones that speak out, they have such a hard time confronting their parents and speaking against their parents and how they got ensnared by their parents. Because that programming was early from childhood. Do never say anything critical of us. Do never say anything bad about us. Don't forward any enemy lines. And imagine that programming is alive and well, and most of the kids have such a hard time enunciating their pain because they go, I can take it, I can take it, I can take it, I can take it, it's fine, I'll get over it, it's fine, my needle floated, it's fine. And it isn't fine. It isn't fine because after certain things get done to you as a child, you don't come back from it. And yes, on the flip side, we understand that. We have a glimpse of what that is today. And imagine it's taken us a literal decade to even begin to understand the level of depravity that we are discussing and the level of exposure that Emily had her entire childhood and her early teenager years. Because just very much like Chester, she was on a cycle of abuse, drinking, partying, hooking up, no boundaries, no guardrails, no parents, no adults, children thinking they're adults themselves and driving themselves to the brink of very dangerous self-harming behavior.
The fuck we would do. And go to shows and stuff, Fans of Warped Tour and shit. So we just like love listening to music. She introduced me a lot more to like more grunge, even more like punk rock, you know, because at that point I was like really heavy into like the 60s, 70s. So she kind of like, we like started like sharing each other's music and stuff. And then I found out she played guitar. I was like, what? You play guitar? And she knew how to tune. And I was like, you know how to fuck.
And Susie, again, different experience than Emily, because Susie, both Scientologists, Susie was a public Scientologist, the daughter of a wealthy Scientology whale that wasn't in the Sea Org, that wasn't exposed to becoming a child slave, that was always told she was special, that was always told she was unique, that was always told she was in the right family with the right VIP-ness. That was literally, her father got brownie points with David Miscavige for hooking up Emily with that deal so that Gail can go concentrate on clearing the planet by typing her fake pitches in her stupid magazine going, mental health is a scam, you guys. Everyone in Scientology, never bring your child to a psychiatrist because they really are going to destroy their life. So that's what's going on. That's what's going on. It's a whole network of, oh, you're going to help me with this? I'll do this other favor for you. Oh, I'll do this other favor for you. There's all manner of favors being done to people that are inside the Scientology hotels. It's a whole entire network of favors, what they do to each other there, how they hook each other up. Emily would have never had a connection with Susie if they weren't Scientologists. She couldn't have just met a random wog in some high school and then all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, let's really do a band. And oh, you play guitar? Yeah, her dad was a rich Scientologist. She didn't have to be, chicken picking the ground like Emily, since she was at a ranch hundreds of miles away from Los Angeles. So that's another type of child that grows up in Scientology. But again, even Susie was abused, because I'm sure Susie was audited, ethics handled, or put on a disgusting grooming course. And just the fact of those three things being done is enough to be abused inside a Scientology hotel.
You got an ear, girl, and you got the you got the attitude to be a guitar player. I don't know why you're not you're not doing this every day. So it wasn't then, and I started like was like, great, this is my new band. And her brother had some drums in the basement, and I was just like, I'm going to take these. And so we started in her bedroom, and I was the drummer and she was the guitar player and like scream singer. And that's how we started again. And it was just like so many different things. And then she was the drummer and then I was a guitar player. We were trying to figure it out, and we were playing shows at that point.
Were you really? How long?
Yeah.
Like, did you just pick up the drums because they were there, or had you played prior to that?
I kind of knew. Yeah, I kind of knew a little bit. Like we both know enough, to just be like, this is great, and we're young enough to suck and still play, and people would be like, all right.
So again, she can't really answer the question because she didn't go to school. She's embarrassed about it. You can tell she's uncomfortable. You can tell she's just being like, oh yeah, I knew how to play the drums. She didn't have any way of getting that level of education inside of the cadet org. They never had anyone that would teach the kids that. So whatever she did teach herself, it was because she was teaching it to herself. And again, all the credit goes to her for that, for using that outlet to cope with that horrific circumstance that she was having for herself.
Right, So, but we were just so about playing music and just playing. Like we just loved going out and playing shows,
Mm-hmm.
Even if there was 7 people there, like that was a highlight,
Mm-hmm.
Played bars and stuff around here, even up into Glendale. And
I mean, again, Emily, you guys, going back to the point that she got this wealthy Scientology whale to pay all her bills, to sustain their stuff. Yes, they were playing in bars. Yes, they got famous quick. Yes, I was there at some of her very early shows. I went to a couple of shows that she had up on Sunset at the Viper Room. And, again, this was all being promoted in Scientology. It's like, oh, everyone go to Emily's show, everyone show up. And, all of us that were already in Scientology would be showing up to her shows. And of course, we were supporting her. Of course, we were enjoying the music that they were playing. Again, this is to separate their music playing skills to the situation and to add the context of what's being done. But, it was far from like, oh, I was going to, shitty shows where only 7 people will show up. I mean, maybe in your practice, but you guys were well set up, and, there's no shame in your game. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you got famous pretty quick. You got successful pretty quick. You got the funding that you needed pretty quick, and you were doing what you wanted to do fast. And you've done it now for over 10 years. I mean, that's not nothing. That's not nothing, you guys. That's her production record, like they call it in Scientology.
So many, like a lot of incarnations of Dead Sarah. We finally settled with Sean as the drummer. Okay. We had a few others before that, and because he was no longer in another band. It was a friend's band of ours, and we were just like, dude, like we want you. We were friends with him and everything. He was a little hesitant because he was in a band that he really believed in, and then that wasn't longer, so he had to take a moment, But once he was like decided, like this is it, we're gonna fucking do it. And now he's
once he did his doubt condition, because that's what they tell you in Scientology. If you want to be on this group or that group, you have to do a lower condition to really find. So it's funny that she talks about how they're doing the doubt condition.
Producing our shit too, so like the new album, like you know what I mean, like he's really come so fucking far from just being like this drummer. So I don't know how I jumped that far. I feel like that was way too leap of a fucking jump.
No, it's okay. I'm curious to know, like, how old were you guys when you started playing those early shows as Dead Sarah? So it started with the 2 of you, or was that called other things, or when did the band kind of solidify? It was always Dead Sarah?
Oh no, God, we had so many names. If that's what you mean.
Yeah. So then it kind of morphed.
It was always us two. Yeah.
Yeah, it was you two, and then it kind of morphed into what became the band currently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
And was it always just you guys both just wanted this was your dream? Like you didn't go to school or anything like else it was just
No.
always music.
Yeah. I just dropped out and I was like, Mom, she's like, cool, whatever. And
Mom, cool, whatever. Breaking news, you guys. Breaking news. Gail Armstrong, Sea York Scientology parent that didn't give an F if her child was ever educated, given the fact that your child was never educated, Gail. I mean, imagine being you, big editor, big shot that you claim to really be, typing disgusting false pitches on a magazine full of propaganda. You got an education. But your daughter didn't even go to a single accredited school. That's what you call child trafficking, you guys. When children don't go to school, they're being trafficked. When children are being put to work, to do grounds work, to do physical labor, they're being trafficked. And yes, breaking news to everybody, your parent can traffic you. So it's not always stranger danger. It's sometimes your very own damn parent that puts you in harm's way, exploits you, buys the full pitch of a convicted felon, and all of a sudden they're doing the bidding of the convicted felon. That's the tragedy between us and our parents. Our parents didn't have to be doing the bidding of a convicted felon. It would have been much better for us to not have that bidding being put front row and center above all our needs as children that we were. So that's why we're calling on the Scientology parents to really like wake the F up. Like, what in the literal hell is wrong with you all?
I left to see, because you knew that I always wanted to do music, and it's
Right.
why am I going to stop you and just force you to do school? It's like,
She knew that she always wanted to do music. And that's what we've heard about Emily, you guys. That's why she didn't end up in the Sea Org, because she did tell her mom to go to hell. And then her mom wrote, okay, well, that's fine, but just I'll help you get out of the Sea Org. Don't come to the Sea Org. Go do music. I know that's what you want to do. I'll hook you up with Danny Masterson. I'll hook you up with Ben Shulman. I'll hook you up with all the little friends that can start hooking you up with Susie and hooking you up with this other Scientology father that is going to fund your career because her mother wanted her here. We also know on her coming out, she was like, Mom, I'm gay. Oh, let me handle everything for you. Let me make sure that everybody, and again, because she's a celebrity, they said, that's fine. Nobody has a problem. It's your sexuality. They make special arrangements like that for people that are becoming famous because they really don't give an F. They just want to know, how do we use Emily to our advantage? They know she doesn't want to go up the bridge. They just want to be getting her donations for this, donations for that, you know. And right now that she's making all this money, she's making all this Linkin Park money, going to all these concerts, she's just going to be, you know, donating to the hotel. Scientology is very happy to have highly paid celebrities that are going to be donating a lot of money, even if they never do a course, even if they never want to do stuff. They're still being, Gail is being given quotas. Call everyone, make $100,000 off the sale, calling Emily. Okay, Emily, really buy these books again. And now they have a rich kid outside of the hotel, and then Emily comes in and puts Gail to do her quota so that, you know, Gail doesn't have to stay up till 6 a.m. She can go, oh, you know, I made my quota. Emily paid for the books again. Can I go home? Can I go to sleep? So that's the level of deranged, dysfunctional, dynamic mother-daughter trying to use her daughter on the outside, Gail, instead of actually literally repudiating all the fake, false pitches, all that propaganda that she has spewed, full knowing that it was all false, full knowing that she was lying through her teeth, full knowing that she was, again, distorting reality to achieve a complete different perception of the facts. That's what she was going for.
It's like, this is your life, you know?
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. So I was.
This is your life. Again, you guys, like, that's what Gail really did say. So I don't think so.
Started a band. I think I was 17, 16 when we started doing I was like 7.
A minor. Why was she 16? Because she was that young. Why was she 16 drinking with her friends? Why was she underage? Plenty of underage kids were drinking in Scientology, you guys. This was normal. This was systemic. This was the vibe. Up in Tahanga, up in exactly where she said she landed, that's what these kids would do. They would go hang out at someone's house and get drunk AF. Hook up with everybody. Everybody's hooking up with everybody. And then the hotel would come in, interrogate all of them. Who hooked up with who? Interrogate all of them, make them do conditions, make them work for the hotel for free to really make up the damage of why they hooked up with somebody. All of that is what the hotel was doing to her upbringing. That's how they were literally controlling them.
17. So Susie was like 16, 15. So it's like, she's like a year younger than I am. So around there, like, we started playing shows. It wasn't like every week we'd play a show. It was like every like reincarnation of Dead Sarah, we'd play a show. So like if we had a drummer or like a drummer that I had way back in the day came back and he was like, yeah, dude, let's just like, I got this band going, let's do it again, you know? And that didn't last very long. And then I was the bass player for a moment and singer. And like, there was just so many. So every kind, like, we would play a show in that, like, you know.
Gotcha.
So, gosh, I totally lost my train of thought of what even you were asking.
We can keep going. Yeah, it's all good. Well, okay. So you obviously eventually land on Dead Sarah, and the first when did you start seeing some success? Like, obviously you had a huge hit with Weatherman early on,
right?
But was that kind of the turning point for you, or like were you guys having some momentum prior to that song coming out, or was it kind of like this guy gets the song and it just explodes?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, since we were playing shows, even at that age, and then coming into like our early adulthood, like we were then asked by a lot of labels and stuff, you know, and that wasn't something that was very, I don't know. That wasn't something that we were really thinking with.
Okay.
You know, like it wasn't something that we were just like, oh, we can't wait to sign to this and be this. And like, we had no idea about like, you know, the business side of things, you know, it just seemed very scary.
Okay.
I mean, again, you guys, she started at 17. She came from a cult. She has no education. She has no background. She has no formal anything. She's just driven by whatever passion she found in that cadet org when she grabbed that little 3-string guitar and she started making shows. Again, very a la Laura FM. You know, these kids this was the only fun thing for them to do. So you really do see how she's talking about it and she's coming back to it.
Okay.
And so we were approached a lot at that time to like, you know, meetings and all this kind of stuff and asking us questions like, where you see yourself in 10 years? Like, we don't fucking know. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We're 18 years old, 19 years old. Like, we're just playing music, you know, we're still trying to figure it out.
Right.
But it was a lot of that kind of stuff. Like, well, I think you guys should work with this producer, this guy. And we're like, we don't know these people, you know? So it was a lot of head spinning, so then you start to get very doubtful and it just becomes like, well, you're very talented. You could do anything you want. And it just kind of like started split, like all this kind of like weird stuff that starts to get in the middle of what we love about music. And then we're just like, at that point, we're just like at each other, you know, just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then it was like a year later where it was just like, we're still like friends. We're just kind of like trying to figure it out. I mean, we're still so young. And, we were just like, we had an opportunity to do our own label and we're like, okay, let's do this. this seems like the fucking right thing to do now. We have a little space. And then that's when
she had the opportunity to make her own label. So maybe this is where the funding came in.
we had Sean, and then Susie was dating the bass player at the time. So he was a guitar player, and then he was just like, yeah, I'll come in to help out, you know.
Wonder how old Susie really was, since you said you started, she was 15, 16. She was dating the bass player.
So he came in, and that's when we started really honing in on that first album.
Wow.
And then we had our friend Noah Shane at the time. He was like producing a friend's band of ours, Endless Hallway. And he was like, yeah, you guys are ready. And we're like, cool. So we just like got the money together to pay him. And we went out to Sonic Ranch in Texas and recorded it, you know, and it was our first album. So it was just like a lot of like, what is going on? You know, like it was like, so he was just trying to like corral us, like, you know, like that was his job as a producer. Like, okay, how are we going to just like get you guys in a room and like get this finished? Yeah, that was done. And then, you know, it just kind of took off on its own and like on our own label, you know?
Okay.
And then you can imagine at that point, you know, we had a lot more understanding of like what the business side was because we started doing it on our own, you know? And we did miss a lot of opportunities, you know, but I think that's just part of it. And like, it's all on you, which is great. You know, you can't blame anybody else. So at that point, you know, our second album, we were like, we should sign to another, you know, major. We did that. And then we asked to get off, and then we got our record back. So it's like a lot of time spent in between that, kind of just futzing around with the fucking label side of things and just like lawyer stuff. So that put like years, you know.
See, so you do have access to lawyers, Emily. You do have access to lawyers that can explain to you how illegal the billion-year contract is for children. So yeah, think about hitting up your legal team and asking them if underage kids can be signed up for that type of stuff, given the fact that children are being signed to that today. So again, for all the Linkin fan part guys that are like, oh, Emily, this and that, da da da. She was abused as a child, and children are still being abused as we speak. So that's all we're saying. That's all we're highlighting. That's all the point to make.
You know, because you can't put anything out, and they really take their time with these things. Like they don't really care too much, I have to say. But they gave us the album, and then we released it. But you know, time has passed, and momentum has shifted, and all that kind of stuff that goes with the unfortunate business of music. So ever since then, I mean, now that we're with Warner, we've you know, it's been 10 years now since that first album. So I feel like we're gone way back to just like how we used to do it. You know, like we did this in our room, in our rehearsal room. We recorded this in our rehearsal room, you know, so there was a lot of figuring things out, but it's very exciting. And that's what I believe helps in an album, you know, and all those little things. And that's what I love about albums, you know, when I was growing up. And there is like this weirdness to certain songs, and you find out that they did it in their bedroom or it was a demo, and all that kind of stuff is so awesome, you know. And going into this album during a pandemic, it's our pandemic baby, you know, and so it had room for a lot of that stuff that we absolutely loved, and the authenticity of it. So you know, I'm really, really proud and happy that it turned out to be this way. You know, and we took on the challenge, and I want to say I would do it all over again, but it was a fucking hardest album to make. Only when I say hardest, it's like when you don't have a help, like an engineer, you don't have the proper studio, there's fucking people rehearsing next to you. The patience can be worn thin pretty fast.
The patience is wearing thin very fast now too. So I think we kind of got to the point of where the water has been muddied. We have discussed how Scientology trained all the Scientology kids to always be speaking in ways that are sanitized and in ways that were only going to help them cover up what they were doing, only going to help them continue living out their delusion. So we are advocating for Emily to wake up, you guys. We are advocating for her to come to her senses. We are advocating for her to have a full-blown reckoning of conscience, because what we said already, she had the horrific childhood. She knows what it is to have to use art as a crutch to exist in a world where nothing makes sense, given the fact that we were born inside those disgusting hotels. And it is very disorienting to have your entire childhood scrambled 24/7, 365. No child should be subjected to that level of scrambling, to that level of abuse, to that level of adults acting with full impunity while everyone around plays dumb, pretending that they have the right to break the law, to commit, including but not limited to, aggravated child abuse, which is a felony, which is not protected religious activity, because that's how the law works. The law is what is going on inside of the hotel, not the delusions, not the sanitizations. You can't have a bank robber go to a bank, rob people at gunpoint, and go, I'm saving the planet, and this is my religious scripture that a convicted felon wrote. You cannot have that. And yet you do have that in the Scientology hotels, where literal self-admitted felons are going in there to get their felonies laundered, to circumvent the law, to admit to felonies against their Fifth Amendment right, to pay to have, including but not limited to, underage child slaves be their servicers, be the ones that give them the service. They go get serviced. That's what they called it. Are you here for your services? Do you want to go get serviced? Even the language is disgusting and unthinkable. In what world does it not raise a shred of red flag to have underage children where adults can go get serviced by children? The word is serviced. So it couldn't be more antithetical to the legacy of another child abuse survivor that was much further ahead on his journey than Emily is. But she is trying to step into his feet. So by all means, have the awakening, Emily. Repudiate it all. Be the light at the end of the tunnel. That's what you need to do. It's on you to change this or to make it worse. Literally, no one else can help you. All we have done is taken apart the lies, forwarding what we're pushing back on, confronting you with the facts, confronting you with what's unthinkable, letting you know what it is, creating content so that your team cannot play dumb, cannot go, oh, I really don't get it. I really don't understand it. So your team cannot go, oh yeah, Emily, you cannot even gaslight your team. From all the coverage that we've done on you enough so far, your team has enough questions to be asking you. So they really understand what is the problem. Because again, we're so tired of people trying to misunderstand a problem that cannot be misunderstood. This moment calls for people putting themselves in the shoe of the Scientology kids. That's the shoes that everyone is being asked to place yourself in. Did you as a child want to get locked up in a hotel with a random, unable to escape? Yes or no? And yes, we're arguing today that you as an 8-year-old don't even have the chance or the choice or the understanding of any of that. So even if you can say that, oh yeah, I really wanted to be there as an 8-year-old, you don't have a way to make that choice. Scientology parents made a choice for you that was working against your best interests, that was placing you in harm's way. It's placing all kids in harm's way. Scientology parents are all in this together, and it's incumbent upon all of them to wake the F up, to go to the FBI, to denounce what they've done, to figure out what type of immunity deals they can literally, by all means, negotiate them with the FBI, negotiate them with the federal agents, explaining to them exactly what you did to your child, exactly the level of exposure of abuse your child had as they were audited, ethics handled, and put through disgusting grooming courses. So Scientology parents, stop being confused about what you're being called out on. You're being called out on the thing that you entitled yourselves to purport, that whatever you did under the umbrella of the L. Ron Hubbard technology, you were following the law. And you know what comes out? That is the opposite. Whatever you did under the umbrella of L. Ron Hubbard, you broke the law. You broke it. The law has been broken. It couldn't be more broken. As this disaster American experiment that has been played on the backs of children sits in the consciousness of this country, who from one side of its mouth purports that slavery was abolished, and from the other side of its mouth makes deals with Monique so that self-admitted felons get full access to, including but not limited to, underage childs that are being turned into slaves, role-playing slaves for adults that are getting tax write-ups on that. So anyone in the legal departments can start explaining to us how racketeering works. By all means, the school where Monique Yingling went to college. What was it? I think in Washington. She went to one of those fancy schools of law. All of that leadership of that school, start typing ways that Monique Yingling, the literal attorney that you let loose with a license to pitch all of this garbage as a nonprofit work of people that really wanted to save our world. Figure out if your client are not just a bunch of degenerate child abusers, and figure out what your criminal liability should be as an attorney that stands on that. Because again, going back to the people that know, the people that are not insulated in the cult, like Emily's mom, like Monique Yingling that went to the IRS and swore up and down, oh my God, yes, you have no idea how nonprofit we are in that hotel. You have no idea how many kids we want to recruit across the world. We have no idea how many sham visas we want to be getting. You have no idea how many passports we're going to have locked up for decades as we get full unfettered access to kids who we will compromise their parents one end and out the other, so that we never get in trouble and we make child slavery great again in the United States of America. As it is today, it's alive, it's well. Slavery is in the shores of America, and all we have is people playing dumb. So that's the era that is over. The era of playing dumb is over. The era of I thought I was going to save a world has been canceled. Given that it's not grounded in any reality, given that it's not grounded on nothing but the delusions and the bidding of a convicted felon. Guess what? Anybody that's, again, signing up to be indoctrinated by a convicted felon on how to act in life, on how to parent your child, you have insurmountable amount of criminal exposure. Double check. We're sounding the alarm. We're coming with flags, smoke signals, whatever the F you need to actually wake up to the facts. All Scientology parents, starting with Emily Armstrong's mother, the one that's been pitching the propaganda to all of the adults, the ones that has a typewriter and a way to make an entire magazine to come clean on what they did. Let OSA come clean. Let all these people that are furthering this criminal activity come clean, repudiated, admitted, It's time for all of you to start atoning for real. It's time for all of you to really start looking for some religion, because your criminal exposures continues to expand as all of you are sitting there playing dumb, being sitting ducks, donating to this hotel, getting more tax write-offs from the IRS. All of that information will be exposed. All the tax write-off that self-admitted PDF files will be exposed. So if you're a PDF file that really got hooked up at that hotel, double check if you're that hooked up. Double check if you're that protected. Double check if you were going to be allowed in America to pay to circumvent the law, because that's what we're asking all Florida judges to start writing on pieces of paper. Why are self-admitted felons able to buy intensives on 12.5-hour blocks with including but not limited to underage children to not follow the law in this country and to get incentivized by the IRS to write that off their taxes? Why is that happening? In what world, Florida judges, is that a religious activity a child is having for themselves? Answer that. That's what we need from Florida. Answers to our questions. No more playing dumb. No, we thought everyone was there having a very religious activity. Enough. Enough with the religious activity. Enough with the lie. It's a lie. You all are lying to yourselves the more you regurgitate what the convicted felon taught you to think. Imagine that. That's the awakening all these Scientology people have to have. They have to literally think, oh my God, a convicted felon planted in my head to purport that all these abominations that I've normalized together with all these people, it took all of my aunts and uncles to normalize this. It took all my grandparents to normalize this. It took all my mother and my father being 100% about this for me to end up in that hotel doing what they were having me do. That's what happens to you as a child. When all your family matrix is compromised, when they keep you asphyxiated in a bubble so that you cannot see that what they're doing is disgusting and indefensible, that's what the alarm is being sounded on. That's why there's no more kids that can be exposed to Scientology. They cannot consent whatsoever, and stop playing dumb. United States of America, courts of United States of America, lawyers of this United States of America. Your entire profession is a disgrace. Imagine that a convicted felon and his posse found the easiest way to circumvent all the toothless laws, to circumvent all the judges and this is very formal, you guys, and we really know what in the hell we're doing at the law. In the United States of America, you don't have an idea what in the hell you're doing. If these people were able to run their sham hotel operation, compromising our entire childhoods, getting our passports locked up, putting us with self-admitted PDF files to do what? What planet were we saving? What planet was being saved? Why children are getting exposed to harm's way? Because that's the answer that we need from the FBI, from the IRS, from ICE, from the LAPD, from the Clearwater Police Department. All those 5 agencies start typing what world is being saved while felonies are being perpetrated on us as children. By all means, try and make it make sense today that we're adults. See if we buy your bullshit pitch today. Because today we're not about buying that BS pitch or catering to any abominable delusion. We're not okay with it. We're sickened by it. We're disgusted beyond. And it needs to stop. And people need to care. And yes, Chester's legacy is here with us because we are speaking on behalf of his name, with his advocacy for what he gave an F about. He's already all over the public record proving that's what he was. So anyone can try and pull whatever kind of trick, it ain't gonna work. Not in this year, 2024. Those tricks are over. Those tricks are canceled because of people like you that are listening to us, of people like you that are understanding how serious this is, how criminal this is, how depraved this is, how many children have been exposed to this, how many are still there as we speak, with everyone playing dumb. Every day that people play dumb is another day that a child gets audited, another day that they get ethics handled, another day that they get put on disgusting grooming courses with dolls being told and shown how, yes, talk about felonies with grown men and women that are going to pay for this because this is going to really make a big difference. It's not making a big difference, and it's compromising the integrity of the law profession, who is in a crisis, of an existential crisis of really show us legal system, show us why in the hell you exist. Because so far, all we see on the public record is you exist so that children like us were being made into slaves, and you're there to say that we had a religious experience. In what world has it taken 74 years to no one rein L. Ron Hubbard back? His unfeathered thirst for underage kids that he contaminated all our parents to have, and all our parents to partake in disgusting, indefensible tortures of kids. Show us why this happened. Try to intellectually make it make sense. Because the blood of all the kids that have been exploited, the blood of all the crimes that were perpetrated on us are dripping down the courts of these United States that purport that everything was done in good faith, that everyone there is very innocent and nothing has been proven. Bullshit. These people kept evidence on everything we've said. So everything we said, there's a video recording of it. Everything we said, there's a policy of L. Ron Hubbard to back it up. Everything we said has been transcribed inside of the hotel. Time, place, form, and event of everything we said. So by all means, tell us how nobody knew, no one can check, no one has access, no one can do anything, no one can help kids in this country is all that we get, day in and day out. And yet the FBI is well-funded, and yet the DOJ is well-funded, and yet the LAPD is given millions and millions of dollars to do their goddamn job by the people in the cities that host these hotels. So yes, American taxpayers is y'all who the IRS is laughing at, as they, on the one hand, reduce the taxes of self-admitted literal PDF files, and on the other hand, they ask for a check from you, so that those hotels can continue to be there on Sunset Boulevard. Let's really promote that this is what Los Angeles is all about, right, Mayor Bass? Karen Bass, you guys. This goes to the mayor who was next to David Miscavige. So before you go, oh, maybe because nobody knows, the mayor was giving literal conversations with David Miscavige. You have to be safe pointed up one ear and down the other in order to be being seen around David Miscavige. So yes, Mayor Karen Bass, mayor of this city, is up to her neck and ears in knowing all about it and having all the access to have done something to stop it, but she doesn't give an F. She only says that she wants to stop it when her, when she was about to lose. When we would have had Rick Caruso, who at least would have been said to be aware of Scientology, since his campaign was pitching that, yes, it was very problematic to have Mayor Karen Bass be the person that takes that position. Maybe Rick Caruso would have done something. Maybe he would have listened to us, the kids that were abused inside of those hotels. Because guess what? Karen Mayor Bass does not give a single F. She hasn't done anything to rein back her corrupt LAPD. She hasn't done anything to help a shred of child. Those hotels are filled with kids that all the live streamers are already caught. All the live streamers have already put the evidence that kids could literally not be more involved, as they're doing, closing down L. Ron Hubbard way to do child events. So you tell us how the children are not involved when they're closing down L. Ron Hubbard way for 8 months, putting floaties, putting bouncy balls, putting dinosaurs, putting whatever the F they want to continue attracting kids, because they cannot get enough of kids inside of those hotels. So all of that context, Emily, is on your shoulders now. All of that information is on your team's shoulders now. Y'all go do whatever it is that you're gonna do. You're a grown adult woman. You can think for yourself. You can do whatever it is that you wanna do with the facts. And we will continue to expose and speak from our own viewpoint what we're seeing on the public record, to demand change, to demand accountability, to demand for children to stop getting abused in the name of religion sanctioned by the IRS. That's the illegal activity that we want stopped now, not 3 years from now, not when the IRS really comes and audits what? What does the IRS need to audit anymore? They have all the tax write-offs from all the people at the hotel that have been claiming. They have tax write-offs, accounts. What did they pay for? How much was it? The hotel has a record of exactly what that is. So marrying that, reconciling that is the easiest criminal investigation anyone ever did. So yes, DOJ, you should be sending us like literal letters of thank you for doing your job. Thank you, Serge, for transcribing every single time you were locked up with a self-admitted pedophile. Thank you for transcribing that. It's gonna make the job of the Department of Justice very easy. Oh, let me see the folder of this kid on YouTube. Let me see what's here. What happened to him in 96? Let me see what's written every day that I was locked up in that disgusting hotel with that pedophile. Why? It's all recorded. It's all everybody knows. Debbie Cook knows up to 1 year and down the other. Shelly Miscavige is the one that approved my RPF CSW. So they knew, they read it, they approved it, they were all about it. They're all about it still today. But delusion time is over. We're just about had enough of the people playing dumb. So let's continue asking for change. Let's continue demanding accountability. I thank all of you for being here. I thank all of you for supporting us. I thank all of you for joining us in demanding answers, demanding accountability, and forcing both California and Florida to completely revoke the unfettered access to children that these Scientology hotels have given themselves. And now we pass the torch to you, Emily Armstrong. Tell us what you're gonna do now that you're in a position of power. Let's see what you do, because that's what we are going to react on. Whatever you do, we will see it with our own two eyes. All these adults that are here learning, understanding what it is that's going on. We all are demanding answers. As advocates for children, that's all the power we have. We have our voice, we have our humanity, we have presenting facts that need to be confronted on their face. And no one here is a child anymore, so gaslighting narratives ain't gonna work going forward. So CC all the attorneys of Scientology. Your gaslighting days are over. Y'all have been made up one ear and down the other, starting with you, Monique Yingling, who really went to the IRS and got this approved so you could make child slavery great again. That slogan belongs to you and you only, Monique Yingling. You put your law license to make child slavery great again. You and your entire firm. So congratulations for achieving that. It's time to undo it. That's what we demand today. We demand for you to undo what in the F you've done. Undo it. That's what the law says. That's what the law says. Or, by all means, let's talk to the Bar Association of Washington, D.C. that can write a pitch for all the children that have been trafficked, abused, essayed inside of those hotels, where it all is transcribed, where all was video recorded, where everybody knew that it happened, and tell us, by all means, in what world is this something that can, continue to happen willy-nilly? Because that's what we need to know. Why is that happening to other kids today? Why is there no change whatsoever in the physical universe? Why are all the lies still being spewed, still being acted upon, still being sanitized nonstop? so you can continue your slavery program in America. Well, canceling your slave unfettered access to children, given the Constitution does prohibit that. And that's what we're going to end it in, you guys. Please take care of each other. Please take care of yourselves. Like, subscribe, and I will see you all very, very soon.